to me, the reason I'm here is very simple. My dear friend Mr. Natarajan called me and said, we have this event, please come. And I said yes, because it's too hard to refuse Mr. Natarajan. I have to tell a couple of words about him. He's a friend, philosopher, and guide to me. And, I think of Mr. Natarajan only when I'm sad. So if he doesn't hear from me, that means I'm happy. But whenever, there are times in life where you don't know which corner you have to go and hide, and then you call Mr. Natarajan, and, he makes you feel much better. Therefore, I'm obligated to him in more than one way. And naturally, if there is anything true in the introduction, I stand in front of you with incredible amount of humility, simply because, this is the kindness of Mr. Natarajan to repose trust on me to come here and talk to you people. So I have not earned anything. It's a grace conferred by Mr. Natarajan onto me, for which I feel grateful and thankful. This is a very different presentation, far from anything that you might have traditionally seen. This is my own synthesis of where we are as engineers. What are we actually? Who is the real we? Every day we wear our boots, go to the workplace, and don the role of a design engineer, wait for our appraisals, wait for our increment, come back home. We don several hats actually. And naturally, the demands of the situation makes a person assume different roles, which is okay from an external standpoint, from an external perspective. But internally as a core, we are a human being, and we want to be a reasonable human being. So, from the core, we cannot separate yourself and fragment yourself, telling that this portion of me is the design engineer, this portion of me is the father, this portion of me is a friend, this portion of me is a colleague. No. There has to be a synthesis in the way we operate. There has to be certain courage, character, and conviction in the way we do things. And there has to be some milestones and guides that actually help us lead a reasonable life and ensure that the engineering that we do is not actually something that is disconnected from us and stands out for the sake of profession, but it is something that is an inextricable part of the character. Which means, when we come to the job every day, do our work and go, we have to see a larger purpose behind what we are doing, beyond the pay packets and the promotions that we get. Now, do we have any basis for that? Is it a theoretical notion? Or is it possible to live a life where there is a wholesomeness to the way we exist? Now, when I think deeper and deeper, and certainly I don't profess to be a scholar or any authority on this, therefore I always tell that my lectures are more of manifestations of thinking loud than preaching or pontificating or proselytizing, if I may. So I just thought, what would be the basis? What makes sense? And the more I think about it, the more I feel repulsed by some of the Western mindsets, because I just feel that if we dig deeper into the Indian thought process, there is a tremendous amount of learning that could be extracted from these, in front of which many of the modern management theories pale. Again, as I say, I am limited by my own knowledge and I claim to be no authority. But as I am growing older and as I am getting slightly wiser every day, hopefully, it is becoming my unshakable conviction that whatever you want to know is actually available here in this country. Therefore, on one hand, you have these sophisticated engineering tools, methodologies, and processes that are Western derivatives. And yet, there is something called as courage, character, conviction, personality, and the ability to lead a life that is meaningful, which is available here. Therefore, our life becomes a little simple if we are able to take what the West offers and encapsulate it and border it within what best this country can offer, then I believe we are creating something that is unique for this country without inveterately and mindlessly aping what the West doles out to us. We are here to take the best that is available everywhere, and if there is something best that is available here, well, as well let me take it. So I have titled my presentation as Foundation for Indianizing Engineering. And if you look at actually the, Greek god Janus, it has two heads. One head looks at the past, and the other looks at the future. So if you look at ourselves also, we got to get motivated by this Greek god Janus, where as we look at the future, we also have to look at the past. And this is a moving timeline. And what stays is the constancy of culture and heritage. Why it is a constancy, how it could help us is the presentation about. If you look at our GDP, I haven't made this bar chart. It is, I have given the reference from where I have taken it. Until the last 150 years, India has been one of the richest nations in the world. But suddenly in the last 150 to 200 years, there has been a severe bankruptcy of our self-esteem. And as we speak today, we are actually struggling. And we are trying hard to come out of the cocoon of being called as a third world country, which in my opinion is very derogatory in itself. So I did my own little, cursory investigation of why this is. If you look at our ancestry, even as early as 10,000 BC, we had the oldest written scripture called as the Rig Veda. And 600 BC, we created a fantastic university in Takshashila. And in 26 BC, there was a great king called Porus, who actually beat the heck out of a fellow called Alexander. And Porus was not by any means great compared to the other greater kings. There was a fellow waiting behind with a huge army of elephants called Chandragupta Maurya. So Porus was just a king who was placed in the front. And Alexander ran like headless chicken. This is true, this is history. When the history is written by Westerners, a guy who was badly defeated, bruised, and who ran away becomes Alexander the Great. And then, of course, they had a great university called Nalanda. Then, for several hundred years, we suffered invasion and colonization. And then we became independent. We became a democratic socialistic country. Large government institutions were set. And in 1991, the government realized that there is no way for India to survive unless the economy is open. Therefore, today we are moving towards democratic capitalism. Now, the problem here is, till 1947, we were ruled by the colonial rulers. Now, the question we have to ask is, are we still going to assert our independence in the era of liberalization? Would we run the risk of a different form of colonization in the name of globalization? If you want to do that, what is actually going to help us? I'll give the answer, I'll spare the suspense. It's only thought leadership that's going to help us. Now, how is thought leadership going to get cultivated? The only way to get some glory is to, go to America. You join a job here for the same qualification, father and son. Father earns a lot more money than the son. And suddenly, in 1990, early 90s, the West realized there are a lot of non-value added activities in information technology. Why don't we shove it off to Indians? Naturally, Indians are comparatively good in mathematics. Koreans are also good. So you had a special part of society called the IT. Guys, you see all the matrimonials on the IT room, preferably with H1 visa needed, all kinds of things. So if you're a non-IT guy, you won't get a girl for marriage. Then in early 2000s, the core engineering industries also started paying as much as IT industries, in some cases even more. So people felt that there is an incentive actually to work for core engineering industries. Because I remember very good engineers who graduated with me went into IT companies only because they got more money and they had an opportunity to be placed overseas, somewhere in Western Europe or Japan or United States. Now, money is it's like fire, a good servant and a bad master. So naturally we had a credit card culture and collection agent culture. So right now we are relearning thrift, We are not as euphoric as we were probably in 2008 or so. So, where should we head? So you're all here, many of you, engineers, design engineers, wondering where should we go. If you look at actually 1947, before that, the Britishers effectively destroyed our self-esteem and killed our industries. We had Dhaka muslin, which was very, very fine piece of clothes. We had a lot of handloom industries. We had local artisans and tradesmen. The British ensured that, thanks to the Western industrialization, that these were all killed and destroyed. And when the independence, happened for India, naturally, it will take time to regain the self-esteem. So, we were still struggling. For example, we'll sell iron ore to Japan and we'll import steel from them at maybe 10 times, 20 times the price. After the economy opened up, we started, engineering services. But there is headroom for us. We can do high-level engineering consultancy. We can generate IPRs. Can somebody slightly increase the temperature? I'm literally freezing here, trembling, and people think I have stage fear. It's too cold. Okay, we can generate IPRs and we can create disruptive products and technology. So we have three critical areas. So those young engineers here, if you want to see where your future should head, there are three distinct areas. Now, how should we go about? Before that, a little statistics. If you look at the GDP of India, what is glaringly missing is technology. But if you look at a large portion of the GDP, it comes from service industry. Right? Many years ago, I read an article in one of the newspapers or internet news. Is your Bangalore the Silicon Valley or Cooley Valley? No, if you look at pure engineering services, there is not much room for innovation. Why? Because when somebody gives you a contract to do something, the clock starts ticking and you are paid by the hour. And therefore, in that context, if you say that I'm going to create out-of-the-box solution, they will say, sorry, we do the thinking in Tokyo or Stuttgart or Paris or somewhere. You do what we ask you to do. But yet, the money is pretty good from the Indian standards of living. Therefore, sometimes, the service mentality imperils professional passion because it gives too much of opportunity for existence. But yet, if you look at great people like Jeffrey Immelt or Jürgen Schramm, they say what brings glory to the organization is innovation. Right? Therefore, at least we are clear that unless we innovate, we cannot be thought leaders. And unless we become thought leaders, there is no way we can hold our head high in the global scenario. And if you look at, these are very few institutes which are exceptionally good in what they are doing. Right? And these are some of the great products in the world. What you see here is actually a mechanical watch. We look at the level of complexity in a watch. You take a Longines or one of these great brands, and the complexity is incredibly high. If you look at, for example, the Large Hadron Collider or the Seiko-kinetic watch that generates its own electricity, or even you take a Mont Blanc pen, right? I asked the question to myself, are we even having a decent pen in this country? The moment you talk about a Parker Blue Fold or a Mont Blanc or a Sailor Sovereign or something like that. But yet, we keep continuously fighting for some turmeric and basmati rice and stuff like that. So unless this mindset goes, it would be a little difficult, because if you look at the pattern, solar photovoltaics, not too many people are finding it economically tenable. Today, a lot of people are talking about that. You don't have much digital cameras today. Right? 10 years ago, a lot of people wanted to own a digital camera. Today, your mobile phone does most of what a sophisticated digital camera does. Therefore, the world is not waiting, and we cannot always say that we will play a supportive role. Let somebody advance the world, and I will play second fiddle, and I will actually help them by having a service mentality. But yet, there are some opportunities for India. Reverse the dimension is something. 7 years ago, GE created a $500 ECG machine because they felt that a normal ECG machine will cost around $200,000, and it's very expensive for a country like India, where 90% of the people are poor and only 10% can afford. And this portable ECG machine by General Electric worked so well. Then the West said, look, 90% of our people can afford, but 10% of our people cannot afford. Therefore, we still have use, otherwise we will become very pedantic. In US there's something called first robotic competition, where children are given robotic kits, and only with those kits they should be able to make robots. They cannot use a screw outside. Everything that has been, that's in the kit is something that they have to use. So we have to find some time to maybe painted in Mexico and assembled in Czechoslovakia. So the mindset actually is changing. And the thought is also changing. If we get pegged down to what makes us comfortable, in early 70s, if you go to Americans and talk about a compact car, they will laugh. They laughed at Toyota. They laughed at Honda. But the same General Motors actually made an urban mobility transporter with Segway. Right? It is as compact a transportation device as you can get. Likewise, Mercedes-Benz makes bicycles. People are trying to constantly reinvent. Unless we attempt to reinvent ourselves, we cannot become thought leaders. Now, if you look on the left side, you have a great organization. You have fantastic engineers hired from the best colleges. You have fantastic CAD systems, PLM systems, everything. But yet we know such organizations have become bankrupt. We know large auto companies in years have become bankrupt. Large tier ones which are considered impregnable have become actually a fight for Chapter 11. Why? Because you have on the right side the 900-pound gorilla. When the fuel prices change, there is nothing you can change. Today we are talking about electric vehicles. It's going to disrupt the whole scenario. It is going to shake the whole supply chain. How many of us spend time thinking and contemplating what would be my role in the changed world? We don't. What we say is, hey, let somebody think. It's just that the ecosystem has changed with such a ferocity and such a rapidity that no single individual can fathom what is happening. Therefore, what should we do? My appeal to this August group here is form ecosystem. Understand that there is a symbiosis. You have academia that creates the brain power. You have government regulations that make sure that this brain power doesn't go unwieldy. You have government labs that actually try to applicate this fundamental research. And you have, of course, industries that actually take this research to the common people. So there is a need to come together to form an ecosystem. We Indians haven't yet learned to operate pre-competitively. We are very scared, we are very insecure. We are telling that, look, what is in it for me? I'll talk about that also very soon. We have been operating based on strengths and opportunities. When we saw money in the early 2000s, because of IT sector, because of the service sector, we suddenly started patting ourselves too much on the back. I put a question in front of you and asked, what have we as a nation created that is truly innovative? We have to keep thinking, right? But if we come together, we can understand that there is too much that we could share with one another in a pre-competitive fashion. Why? Because everything is coming together. Several years ago, when you had a CAD tool was a CAD tool. A finite element tool was a finite element tool. A CFD tool was a CFD tool. Today you see how things are coming together. You take your own Dassault system, they purchased Abacus. Why? Because people want an ecosystem that exists symbiotically. We talk about interoperability, we talk about CAD model healing, we talk about automatic machine, we talk about multidisciplinary optimization, right? Ultimately there is a convergence. But if you look at actually the way globalization is going, I remember a story of the Arab and the camel. So this camel said, "Master, you are comfortably in the tent. I am having cold in the desert. Can I put my neck in?" The guy said, "Fine." "Can I put my front foot, feet in?" And finally the tent ripped off. So when these changes are happening in the world, this Arab is actually like ancient the civilizations such as India. The camel is globalization. It wants to first peep its head in, and then it wants to put its front legs like that. And the tent is our roots. If you let the camel inside too much, the tent is going to rip off. But yet we learn all the wrong things from the West. For example, you can see how many young boys zipping past on the road on motorcycles, and young girls wanting to sit behind those young boys who wheel past the traffic. Right? All that we have are these great motorcycles. We don't have the road infrastructure, we don't have properly functioning traffic signals, we don't have proper headgears. But we take globalization in a way that is most hedonistically convenient to us. If we do that, how can we be thought leaders? There are a lot of things we can learn from the West. So, I am a fan of Nassim Nicholas Taleb. I'm going to tell you a very small story. There was this turtle that was living in a big pond. It was caught and put in a fish bowl. And the turtle said, "Well, I used to live in a big pond, now I'm in a fish bowl. It's much the same." And then there was a burner under the fish bowl. So the water started becoming lukewarm. The turtle became very happy because warm water is very soothing. It started buying a plasma television, it started buying a car, it started telling, "Look, I have actually gone up with the middle class value chain." But what the turtle has not recognized is that the burner called globalization is soon going to boil the water, and unless the turtle knows how to survive the boiling water, it's going to get cooked. Therefore, if we are feeling a little cozy today, 15 years never used to be the case 15 years ago, but is that real development actually? Is that a demonstration of thought leadership? No, it is the water of globalization getting lukewarm. But if we say that, look, for the last 10 years we have been good, what's going to happen? Again, Taleb gives a very nice analogy. He talks about this turkey, which was well fed and taken care of by its master. And the turkey was every day thinking, "God, this man is too good. He feeds me 3 times a day. He takes me to the vet. Mankind is very good." And on the eve of Thanksgiving, it had to go through a sudden revision in its belief system because the turkey realized all the day it had been fed not for any noble purpose, but for a nice Thanksgiving meal. Therefore, if we think that our past is any credible indication of what tomorrow is going to be, I'm really sorry, we might end up becoming as vulnerable as the turkey. Because we have to understand that the masters of globalization have not been extremely kind to India. In the 90s, they thought, well, let me get the Indian white-collar police who do the Y2K problem, COBOL programming, some front ends of some banking, insurance software, everything. Then they suddenly realized these guys are not too bad after all. So they started setting up a few R&D centers. So what should we do? Now the question is, yes, you have told all the stories, very fine. As an individual, what am I going to do? So, I am too weak and incompetent to give any advice, but I did spend a few days with this wonderful person called Professor Shoji Shiba, who should be probably 87, 88 years old. He doesn't look old. He is a professor from MIT. He is a Padma Shri. He has given 9 principles. I would certainly, this presentation is available for you, so you can ask EGS and they will be happy to share this with you, whoever is interested. We Indians always have a problem. We talk and talk. Anything good we say, sir, if I am not there, this wouldn't have happened. If anything goes wrong, we pass the buck. In spite of me telling all this, sir, this happened. We are very pedantic. That's one pitfall of our Indian culture. If you have to know what a fish is, you have to jump into the fish bowl. We have to unlearn certain things. You have to get the big picture. And as CAD engineers, you have to understand your relevance in the organization. We have to straddle between thought and experience. We have to understand that terminologies and pedantics doesn't constitute wisdom. It is skill that ultimately leads. It's behavior, which means we have to practice. We have to understand that there are cases where we have some systems where we have to actually boldly disrupt. We have to roll our sleeves, get dirty, do and demonstrate. And finally, we have to also enjoy our success so that we get more confidence. We should not lose the big picture. Therefore, we have to understand that these 9 principles could perhaps help us move up the value chain. See, globalization is like a flagged up peacock. The front of the peacock is very beautiful. The back of the peacock is very ugly. That's globalization. That's free market. Like it's a typical posh area in Chennai. You would have an adjoining slum. You have to have. Why? Because the slum supplies all the maids and the dobbies and everybody. And the posh area guys employ these people. And the posh area guys say these guys from the slum are dirty, they are very noisy, they put posters for everything. Right? And the slum guys look at the posh area guys and say, these guys are heartless, they are wealthy, they don't know how to come together, they are very lonely. But yet they need each other to coexist. Today, capitalization is gradient based if it depends on outsourcing. Why? Because you would be wanted only if you are cheaper. Therefore, how should we draw our inner strength? Again, I go back to the 2 heads of Janus. We have a glorious heritage. Take, for example, the Aryan invasion theory had been hammered down the head. And there's absolutely no scientific evidence. It has been debunked as fake. And recently, a few years ago, there was an excavation in Russia, in a place called Arkhan, which shows that a very advanced civilization had its roots in Rigvedic culture. So it's not that people suddenly moved from Central Asia near Caspian Sea to India. No. That is the earlier Max Mullerian theory. Max Muller later on became a good guy. Early he was not good. It is actually people from here who went. So Russians were very excited because the Western European nation had been Hellenistic in nature. Anything good, any great culture came only from the West. It's Greco-Roman. Now here is a very solid archaeological evidence, and you can check the internet, which says that no. there was a pretty good culture here which went west. And if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you look at Taittiriya Upanishad, we have a very superior pyramid, which I can actually spend 2 hours connecting this to the brain structure. I did that once. How our cerebrum is divided into 3 segments: the reptilian brain, the limbic system, and the neocortex. And how, as you go up the pyramid, you are actually using the buddhi of the neocortex. Therefore, our ancient people have understood the nature of human being and how actually the brain works. And yet, we are not leveraging those wonderful knowledge. If you look at a couple of 100 years ago, there was a guy called Arthur Schopenhauer, a brilliant man. He said the Upanishads are the solace of my birth and they will be the solace of my death. Oppenheimer said that the atom bomb reminds me of the Vishwarupa of Lord Vishnu. And if you look at the great minds of India, Chhatrapati Shivaji had Ramdas, Samat Ramdas. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was inspired by Swami Vivekananda. Kavirata Ganapati Muni was inspired by Ramana Maharshi. J.C. Bose said if he ever starts a university, it will be patterned after Dakshila and Ananda. That's Professor George Sudarshan, who is his students have got Nobel Prize in Texas A&M, and he is always inspired by the Upanishads. If you look at our own, prodigious, unique, unparalleled avatar called Srinivasa Ramanujan. He nonchalantly attributed the phenomenal, unspeakable mathematical prowess that mankind is still trying to understand even today to Namagiri Devi. And yet, we give left-handed compliment to our culture, and we feel that, the television and the media and the Hollywood, Bollywood, Tollywood, Mollywood, whatever would should set the trend on how we have to live. Very sad. A few verses from the Upanishads. It talks about, the wise man concentrates inward. The bottom one, the modern management theory talks about potential and capacity. Purushasukta, Svedasvatara Upanishad have told years ago, thousands of years ago, that the capacity, the potential of a human being is limitless. Aditya Varnam Prasad. And Katha Upanishad says, there is the right shoes and the pleasurable.